Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm at the market and we're going to talk about the Boon of Plenty as a main theme, and we're going to mention some other things along the way. So I'm actually here at the market because with the Boon of Plenty, you get access to the market from anywhere in the world. So let's go ahead, enter the shop right now and take a look at this boon itself. Keep in mind that this Boon of Plenty has already once been updated. In fact, it was vastly improved, and at the time, these improvements really made sense. And I remember having a video, don't remember the exact words I said, but I do mention that I was in favor of it and happy to see that it had occurred. Now, I still see some issues with this, and this is kind of relatively new in regards to why I have these issues. Overall, I still think the value of this package is actually pretty good, but the video isn't really here to promote it. But I do want to say, in general, I think that for the cost here, you get 4 legendary crests. They aren't eternal crests, but there's still some value there that you could potentially get some gem power or a nice gem. You get 2 Fervent Fangs, and whether or not you use this gem, that's 8 gem power if you don't, or 2 copies if you do happen to use it, as well as 600 Eternal Herbs that you could put to whatever you like. In general, I think most people put these to actual Eternal Crests as they get enough orbs to purchase those. But let's talk about some of the things that I don't like and that don't really seem to fit in the current state of the game. First thing I want to mention here is actually the Tourmalines, okay? As you rank your gems up, it takes additional copies of the regular gems to get to the next rank. And at a certain point, it takes a very large number, right? And many people see this. I believe from the feedback I've gotten, a lot of free-to-play or low spenders typically have their gems between rank 5 and 6, and there's really no light in sight, so to speak, for them to get to the next rank. Then you have some mid-spenders that may be at rank 7, and then you have some higher or larger spenders that typically are at 8 and some even higher. To them, this doesn't much matter. A lot of times they're just going to buy the gems until they get the upgrade. But for those that don't go that route, well, it takes so many copies. And on top of that, we're getting Tourmalines, 30 copies if you're trying to go from, say, rank 6 to 7, or even from a rank 7 to 8 if you happen to be in kind of that light spender, since this is obviously a spending category. Well, this just really isn't that many copies in regards. And like I said, it's Tourmalines, and I can't repeat that enough. That's the damage stat, and that's very important because, in my opinion, that's one of the worst gems. I don't think it's as bad as the Ruby, but I think it's actually the second worst gem in the game at the moment. Here's a look at my personal Ibans, and I actually regret going to level 30 on the damage, the life, as well as the damage and life. I wish I had actually stopped probably around level 20, because these are the least efficient pieces to upgrade within Ibans, and it's just a complete waste because the scaling and what you get for a value is not there. You're so much better off going after things like resistance or potency or the combination, and you could even go after armor and armor pen and the combination of that as well. I think that those stats overall are fairly even. Personally, I have a slight preference to potency and resistance. I play all classes, and I find that those are a little more favorable for every class, but you could certainly make arguments where armor and armor pen are more favorable for other classes. Or if you have somebody who plays just one class all the time or something like that, that's more kind of pigeonholed, whatever the case may be, don't take too much into account here with these levels being different. Overall, they're fairly even, and that level of quality there is dramatically better than what we get for the damage and life there. So huge problem with there being Tourmalines and having there being 30 of them. It just seems like it's really not much value at all in that regard. Let's take a look at the other things involved with this service. Now, 6 inventory rows. This was really nice for a long time. Now, as we have more levels, more Paragon points, we also have access to the Vanquisher tree. We've had Vanquisher the entire time since Paragon trees have been out, but we have more points that we can kind of spend, or excess points remaining. And this node here is actually a passive node. Remember that the active nodes are squares, and those are only active when you have that tree actually selected. The circle nodes are passive, which are active all the time, and a lot of people don't realize this. This deeper pockets, which gives you additional inventory and gem rows, is passive. So you can go into this and just always have access to these additional inventory rows. So that also makes that Boon of Plenty a little less appealing. We've also had the addition of the Warband, and you can actually go to this while you're out in the world farming. If you were out in the open, you can click on Warband, same as you can do with town. Click on Go to Kryangar. I'm not going to do it right now for the load screen, and this will just take you there. And there's a blacksmith inside, so we now don't even need as much inventory room as we had before. If we're salvaging items, we can just go and salvage pretty accessibly anywhere that we are. Another thing in this Boon of Plenty is the access from anywhere within the world. Excuse me, wrong one. Now, the remote market access, this is probably the nicest feature, and I think a lot of people feel that way. It's just a huge quality of life feature. Really wish that this was just default for the game. But in general, obviously that's not going to be the case. They want you to kind of pay a little bit for this feature. This is getting used less and less, right? Because as people get their normal gems to a rank where they don't want to improve them anymore, or maybe they can't improve them anymore, they're not going into the market. People aren't running as many rifts now as they were previously, so they're not trading gems back and forth. The movement for gems, legendary gems that is, on the majority of servers has really slowed down. So people also aren't going into the market multiple times per day to kind of pull some that have sold off, place some new ones on, and just doing transactions in that way, or readjusting things, putting new gems up. You're just going in less. In fact, a lot of players log in to do dailies, they log out, and they're not even making use of that once per day, let alone multiple times. And in fact, you see, I just ran up here, and part of my daily routine is actually just running over to this when I go to Yakin now, because I'm not using the Boon of Plenty. As you can see, I just visit this on my way to Yakin when I buy my daily random legendary, hopefully legendary items from them. Now we get additional market trade slots. Again, similar to the last topic here with the remote access, we're just doing less transactions or trades in the market in general. This is the majority of players, so not everybody, and there are some people that are still very active, but you don't need as many slots if you aren't moving around as many goods, right? If I actually go into the market here, which I will in a minute, and show you how many gems aren't moving, well, you don't need additional slots when you're at the point of putting up gems that don't even move, right? You could take those gems down and put up something that might. The stash space is the last topic, and I just want to mention that. We're going to look at the market first, and then I'll talk about the stash space. So let's go in here, and I know that one of these offhand is actually Frozen Heart is going to be a popular one for this topic. And if I go to the 4-star Frozen Hearts, make sure there's none on this page. A 4-star, a 4-star, a 4-star, a 4-star, and so forth. And they're all 160,000, right? And none of these are moving. These have been here for a long time. In fact, I believe there's a couple more of these. They're probably just run out of the duration at this point. So none of these are moving. So these are a whole bunch of gems that people have listed because there's nothing else for them to list. Otherwise, they would list something that has potential of selling, right? So are those additional slots really needed? Well, I'm not sure that they really are. So let's go into stash space. Anybody that's seen my stash before knows that it's usually jam-packed, right? I've had all 3 stashes when I had the Boon of Plenty. In fact, I even have a tab that's named Need More Room, which you can't see behind my camera, before we got the additional tabs. Now I don't have this tab at all because I'm not running that Boon of Plenty, and I have a whole bunch of room. And this is because we just saw a huge change between set items, right? I used to collect sets for strength pieces, and then I'd collect sets for int pieces, because as a content creator, I really enjoyed having the ability to swap from class to class, show off different things, show off builds, show off new essences. Whatever I was kind of doing for content, it made it just really easy, also enjoyable. I obviously just like the change of pace, or I wouldn't be changing class that frequently as well. But now where this main stat converts, I definitely don't need as much room, right? You could argue that I could put in here things like an invocation set or a couple of ancestral property weapons and situations like that. However, at this point, I'm not holding on to them because we're going to be heading into Inferno 2 very soon. So I kept kind of the best of the best. Earlier on in Inferno 1, I was holding on to more of these, but I have plenty of room to do that, right? And when I get into Inferno 2, I'll dump all of these items and then replace them with higher or Inferno 2 pieces. So I'm not really sure that the inventory room is needed. There's obviously going to be some players that keep things with certain affixes or maybe even attributes, depending on what they're going for, to completely min-max. But for the majority of people that might have even been getting the Boon of Plenty just to have additional stash space, this is no longer an issue either. So I just kind of want to talk about the Boon of Plenty and see where everybody else is at for general feedback. Now, like I said, overall, I still think the value of Boon of Plenty is still good. I'm just wondering, is it time to see another tweak to this? Is this something that should be updated? Is this a non-issue? Whatever it should be here, just feel free to leave some feedback and comments whether or not this is something you still utilize if you once did, something that you've gotten since some of these changes, or something you've never used, and things along that line. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch, and have a great day.